What's the longest flight or bus trip you've ever taken?
Welcome to Plain English, the podcast that goes at the right speed for English language learners. Listen now and read the transcript online at plainenglish.com. Now, here's Jeff, your host for today's episode.
Singapore Airlines debuts an 18-hour, 45-minute flight, the world's longest. How can anyone survive it? Can you say free wine? Greetings, welcome back. This is Plain English. I'm Jeff. JR is the producer, and this is episode number 95. Transcripts, as always, along with our famous interactive translations, are available at plainenglish.com/95. The email address, if you'd like to get in touch, is Jeff, Jeff, at plainenglish.com or jr@plainenglish.com. It all depends on which one of us you want to talk to. There are lots of great ways to listen. A lot of you are on Spotify. Others listen on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. Many more of you have a podcast app like Pocket Casts or Podcast Addict. Wherever you listen, click subscribe or follow to get all the new episodes right to your phone. And if there's an option to leave a review, there isn't on Spotify, unfortunately, but if you're listening on an app that allows reviews, like Apple Podcasts or iTunes, then please leave us a rating and a review with your thoughts. We really appreciate it when people do that. Singapore Airlines relaunched the longest flight in the world last week, a 10,300-mile beast of a flight that's over 16,500 kilometers. It goes from Singapore to Newark, New Jersey, outside of New York City, and is scheduled to take 18 hours and 45 minutes. 18 hours and 45 minutes. Wow. That is now officially the longest flight in the world, edging out a flight from Auckland, New Zealand to Doha, Qatar in the Middle East, which is about an hour shorter. Singapore Airlines is flying a brand new Airbus A350-900 ultra long-range airplane. The airline had flown this route between 2004 and 2013, but discontinued it because it was too expensive to operate and they could not do so profitably. But with a new generation of ultra-long-range jets made of lighter carbon fiber and with additional space for fuel, Singapore is hoping that its bet on this super long-haul route will pay off. The flight has all premium seats with no traditional economy or coach seats. The airline is hoping that higher fares contribute to the route's profitability. There are 67 business class seats and 94 so-called premium economy seats. Premium economy seats are a new thing in the airline industry. For long-haul flights, they now offer something in between economy class and business class. You basically get a little extra legroom and generally upgraded food and drink options. So the smallest seats, those small airline economy seats of your nightmares, those are not on this flight, thankfully. Still, most of the seats don't recline all the way, so passengers back in premium economy would still have to survive the whole time sitting up or maybe just reclining a little. The arrangement is the so-called 2-4-2 arrangement, where there are 2 seats by 1 window, then an aisle, then 4 seats in the middle of the plane, another aisle, and 2 seats by the opposite window. It's a big plane. And here are a couple details from the very first flights. First of all, you leave Singapore late at night, just after midnight. They serve you a meal in flight, and then they turn the lights out for 12 straight hours. 12 hours in the dark. That's probably to keep all the passengers quiet. You can get drinks and sandwiches and snacks during the night, and then 3 hours before landing, they flip the lights back on and serve breakfast. All passengers get noise-canceling headphones to help you sleep or concentrate on entertainment. So what would you do for almost 19 hours? The airline offers 301 movies. That should get you through the first half of the flight. 301 movies, 200 TV shows, and over 700 music selections. They also push around a cart of newspapers and magazines. It would be important to get up and walk around a little. Don't try just sitting in your seat the whole time. That's what I typically like to do. I usually don't get up during a flight if I can avoid it. But on a flight that long, you need to get some exercise. That's because you can actually get a blood clot in your legs from sitting so long at such high altitude. You also want to drink plenty of water, since airline cabins have extremely dry air. Here's a fun fact, or a not so fun fact if you're listening to this in the air on a long-haul flight. The way you taste food is actually different at high altitude. That's right, airline food is notoriously bad, but there's a scientific reason for that. Part of the way you experience food is through tasting it, sure, but also through smelling it. And when you're up so high with lower air pressure and drier air, you can't smell the food that you're tasting. So the chefs who craft an in-flight menu have to deal with ingredients that will dry out faster, and they need to give you a more flavorful meal to make up for the fact that you're not smelling it. There's even a beer called Betsy, specifically brewed to be consumed in the air, but it's not available on Singapore Airlines. If it sounds hard being a passenger, it's probably not easy working that flight either. I'm usually pretty beat after a 12-hour day. I can only imagine what it's like to work this flight. The crew includes 4 pilots and 13 flight attendants to serve the 150-odd passengers. After about 18 hours in the air, the world's longest flight lands in Newark the same day at about 5:30 in the morning. Not bad. Leave at midnight, spend 18 hours in the air, and get off the plane at 5:30 a.m., you could be in your office in Manhattan working by about 8 o'clock. Yeah, right. If that were me, I'd have to sleep all day to recover. I'm trying to think now of the longest flights I've ever taken. I think the longest flight I've ever experienced is 8.5 hours. I've been to India 3 times for work, but each time I connected in London. And I think that London to Delhi flight is 8.5 hours. And I had to do Hawaii actually twice for work. That was back when I was living in New York. That's an 11-hour flight, but on those I chose to take a connecting flight instead, so it was broken up a little bit. I think for a long-haul trip like that, I'd much rather have a connection, even if it adds a little time to the journey. On my way to India, I liked to get off the plane in London and have breakfast at one of the restaurants, browse the shops, stretch my legs, 18 hours on a plane. It makes my legs cramp up just thinking about it. Hey, one thing you might do if you find yourself on a long bus ride or plane ride, or even a long car trip, is listen to an audiobook. I just finished a great book in English called Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. It was really, really good. And I remember thinking that the vocabulary isn't too difficult. And it is available as an audiobook on Audible. If you can get your hands on the printed book, you might also enjoy listening to the audiobook and reading along. Or if you're up for a challenge, you can try listening without the text. Either way, you can get a free audiobook by going to plainenglish.com/book and signing up for a free trial of Audible. It is a paid service where you get one audiobook a month for about $15. But if you sign up for a free trial, you get a free book and you can cancel within the trial period without paying anything if that's what you want. So check that out, plainenglish.com/book, BOOK. That has all the details, and you can search for any book you want to hear. But like I said, the one I just finished is great. It's called Little Fires Everywhere, and that's a good place to start. It's been weeks since we picked a phrasal verb, not on purpose. It just happened that way. I bet we haven't done a phrasal verb in 3 weeks or a month. So today I chose the phrasal verb pay off. There are a few ways to use it, so let me first review the way you heard it earlier. This isn't the first time Singapore Airlines has flown from its home base in Singapore to Newark, New Jersey. It used to run this route until 2013, but they canceled it, remember? It was losing money. Well, now they have the newest plane, which is lighter and more fuel efficient. And they are trying a new business model where all the seats are premium seats of some kind. More expensive seats, in other words. They are hoping that this new route will be profitable. They are hoping that their strategy pays off. Their strategy would pay off if it's successful, if it's profitable. You use pay off when you make a bet or when you take a risk or change your strategy and it works and you get what you wanted. I was watching a baseball game over the weekend where the manager took the pitcher out of the game early, far earlier than managers usually take pitchers out of the game. It was a gamble to change pitchers so early in the game, but the strategy paid off because the next pitcher did even better than the first one. You see, it could have been a bad decision. It was a little risky, but it worked. The strategy or the risk paid off. If you invest a lot of time preparing for a presentation at work and you succeed on your presentation, well then your hard work and effort pays off. You invested your time and it paid off if you did well because you were so well prepared. I'm thinking about replacing some windows in my apartment here in Chicago. Some of the windows I have, they just let in a lot of cold air in the winter. I'm investing a lot of time doing my research and talking to different window companies here. I'm hoping that my research pays off in the form of effective new windows at a good price. I'll let you know how it goes. Like most phrasal verbs, there are a few other ways to use pay off, but I can't do them justice. I can't explain them sufficiently in the time we have left, so I'll leave those for another time. Just be aware that there are a few other ways to use this phrasal verb in case you encounter it. Before we go, I wanted to say hi to Fabio from Brazil. He's living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, one of my favorite American cities, and he says he needs to learn English fast. Yikes. Maybe you can fly from Singapore to Newark and listen to all 95 consecutive episodes of Plain English. Short of that, just keep practicing, watching TV, reading. Don't be shy. Make lots of friends. People in Pittsburgh are really nice. And don't give up. I admire you for moving to a new country, and I know you'll be great in English if you keep up all your hard work, Fabio. And thanks for sending me a note on Facebook at Plain English Pod. That's all for today, Thursday. Don't forget, JR and I will be back on Monday. The topic on Monday will be Shinzo Abe, who will become the longest-serving prime minister in Japan's modern history, and his desire to change the Japanese constitution to officially allow for armed forces. That's all coming up on Monday, and if you're lucky, I'll pick another phrasal verb then too. You'll just have to wait and see. Until then, thanks for joining us as always. Be right back here in a few days.